Psychologists slash therapists of Reddit, what are some bad pieces of mental health advice you've seen on social media? I saw someone tell another individual with schizophrenia that they didn't need medication. What they really needed is the motivation to cope with their mental illness symptoms. Motivation. Yes, you can do it. Apostrophe. Thanks. Talking dog. Apostrophe. In my day, kids didn't have these so-called mental health issues. Get over it. That's because in the good old days, affected persons fell through the cracks and committed suicide, became homeless and vanished, or were locked up away from society until they died. So what you're seeing is survivorship bias. I have bipolar and some people that know ask if I've considered going for a no medication approach. Yeah, I tried. In that time I had more suicide attempts than I can count, and I was extremely volatile and unstable. Medication has given me an actual opportunity to live and function like an adult. Do you know what it's like to not be suicidal or manic? It's really nice. I won't give this up for anything. You think I haven't also tried pulling up my bootstraps, eating well, exercising, sitting in the sun, etc. Meds get me to a place where I can actually exercise, eat well, etc etc. It is all important and works together, but first your brain has to function enough to do all the rest. It's like telling a diabetic, have you considered going without insulin? Just because it's not a physical ailment it doesn't mean bipolar won't ducking kill me eventually without my meds. There's too much negative stigma with psychiatric medication. How did that even start? What you choose to do online doesn't affect your mental health. It's a sentiment I see often. It's garbage. What does that even mean? It means they dismiss the notion that internet use plays any factor in someone's mental health. You are wasting 1/3 of your life sleeping, not just bullshit, but a recipe for madness and death. Pretty sure I'm wasting 2/3 of my life by staying awake. Typically they show pictures of sun breaking through trees and saying you don't need meds or nature is medicine or this is a real antidepressant, etc. Except some people do. Maybe they need both. Some people can find healing without medications. Some cannot. And that's okay. Sun? What's that? Me living though in English November. Caked in mud despite not even going outside. This may be why the English aren't stereotyped as the epitome of happiness. Obligatory, not a therapist, but a doctor. People telling others you can just choose to not be depressed, or that you need to self-care yourself back to a normal psychological state. Yes, healthy food, exercise, and enough sleep is definitely important. But too many people discredit the disease status of depression and claim it's just a feeling. No, sadness is a feeling. True depression needs therapy and possibly medication. Amateur analysis of mental health issue through comments or posts. You aren't qualified to diagnose someone. Don't do it. Even if you are, you should leave it to a professional environment where your words can actually have some positive impact rather than bitch slapping someone with your bachelor's degree for upvotes. About 90% of the time on Reddit, if an argument is going south for someone, they'll always take out the "you need therapy" card. There could be a little sentence with someone expressing their anger at one particular moment that somehow reveals a lifelong cry for therapy. You need therapy. I mean, who doesn't? Not a therapist slash psychologist, but I'm bipolar second with ADHD, and I get advertisements for natural cures for BPD and ADHD. Diet, exercise, and supplements help but don't cure. I need antipsychotic medications to keep me from having visual and auditory hallucinations. A special salad isn't gonna keep those at bay. The self-care approach of, oh, you deserve to take a nap when you have multiple things to do, or buy that thing to make you happy is shitty in my opinion as well. Self-care is actually cleaning your disgusting depression den and doing the shit on your to-do list that you've been putting off for weeks. When I'm hypomanic I spend excessive amounts of money on stupid shit I don't need. So treat yourself is horrible advice. This is super specific to me, but I'm sure others have this mentality as well. Amen. I can't help but think about the psychiatrist I was seeing when my mood stabilizer began to not work the right way. After 2 appointments, the incredible advice I got was, for your condition, sleep is very important. Like what the duck, bitch? I'm telling you, I'm having fast switching and ideation, and the advice is, oh, sleep harder lol. Changed psychiatrist. Med student and hopeful psychiatrist. Worst I've seen isn't the message, it's the context. Instagram models with their extravagant lifestyles quoting love yourself, maybe not understanding that a lot of the time they set the unrealistic bar that people attempt to reach in their real lives. Don't just shout buzzwords. Ground yourselves. Open up about your stories and how you overcame them with sincerity. Even if it's at a detriment to your clout, let people see through the looking glass. Just for a second. This! Exclamation mark. I hate this so much. They create these unrealistic standards and then tell people how easy it is to just live your life or quit everything and travel the world, even though most people can't do any of that because of their situation. These influencers make it sound like they are living the good life and everyone else is just stuck in some lame version of reality. So everyone who is actually doing fine will start doubting themselves because they can't achieve the same high standard living as these people. I always see people post depressed quotes and things like 2020 made me realize who was there for and who wasn't. No. Everyone's going through this pandemic bullshit headache together. It seems as though everyone's struggling. Whether it's financially, mentally, or physically, health. We're all going through something, and we shouldn't be acting selfishly expecting others to put their lives on hold to cater to ours. My ex-friend did this to my current best friend. She's legit the type to never communicate with you about her feelings. You're just supposed to know what she's feeling and thinking. And she's the type to get mad at you and call you a shitty friend for pulling yourself away and needing space because life is hard sometimes. And she's the one to make statues like the one you're quoting as a jab to people. 2020 has been a trash year for everyone. Regardless of your situation, we're all in the same pool struggling to survive this insane pandemic. But yet she still had the audacity to drop my friend and flip shit on him because he didn't ask her daily how things were going and put his needs on hold for hers. I'm not a psychologist, but when I had my depression, my roommate told me to just pull myself together. We don't live together anymore. I can't say it enough. #ITS an illness, not a mindset. You can't just be happy if you truly have depression. Not a therapist, but someone told me to just don't cut yourself. It'll make you look ugly. Lol, I had someone tell me to just stop cutting and to just eat a duck and cheeseburger. Since I was self-harming multiple times a day at that point, just not doing it wasn't an option. Since I was also going 3 to 4 days without eating while still partaking in sports and somehow not dying or passing out, just eating a duck and cheeseburger wasn't an option either. It's a lot easier for people to sit there and say to just do X or just don't do Y, as if it's that easy. Not a psychiatrist, but a social worker. A lot of my clients have mental health struggles and are working with me because they have lost custody of their children. It gets really old seeing the hardcore marijuana enthusiasts advocating for people with severe mental health issues get off meds and smoke instead. Marijuana can be very helpful in certain cases, but it is definitely not a be-all, end-all cure, especially for people that struggle with hallucinations or paranoia, or keeping up with personal responsibility. It can for sure make these things worse for some. I'm glad that my state legalized, but it's frustrating to see a client making good progress on getting stability and make steps to progress their life, and then get convinced by someone with no medical background to stop taking the meds that are helping them in favor of just being stoned all day. I smoke to relax, but I don't pretend that if I just smoke more weed I can throw my albuterol and Wellbutrin in the trash. I need those things to have a good quality of life. This is a huge pet peeve of mine with a lot of modern day arguments. Everyone feels they need to have a buzzword type argument to justify their stance. You can't just like weed. It's got to be therapeutic for PTSD patients. You can't just not want to work because work sucks. It has to be because of mental distress. You can't just post a bikini picture. It has to be for empowerment. Nobody can just enjoy guns. It has to be about protecting civil rights. I understand people feel the need to justify their actions with more airtight arguments, but I feel like we should aspire to create a world where people don't feel the need to justify their actions so hard at all. In the end, I trust someone a lot more who just comes out and says they like doing the thing than someone who tries to claim it's some upright moral reason, which may or may not even woolly to them in this context, but they're doing it out of solidarity anyway. Clinical psychology doctorate student and mental health support worker here. Anything to do with getting a full 8 hours, eating healthily and exercise for depression. Yes, those things can have a very positive impact on low moods, but clinical depression usually stems from something, and that problem needs to be addressed before these lifestyle tips can truly serve their purpose. ANAP. Most advice is see online is horrendous. The first step towards a cure is admitting you are sick. Instead, most people encourage people with issues thinking their good intentions will cure the other person. In the long run, they have hurt them immensely. Just cheer up. Just keep going. Worst thing I ever did. Got me a burnout. Don't check with your emotions, says my mom, who will go ballistic at the slightest provocation. Not yet a therapist, though I'm currently in the process of applying to a clinical psychology program. Nearly a decade ago, as I was struggling with significant depression and suicidal ideation and was, myself, in therapy and on antidepressants. An individual who did not know this about me, as I was extremely private about this stuff, once went off about how depression is basically a label for a made-up disorder and that, if someone's feeling bad, they just need to do a good deed to feel better. I didn't say anything at the time, but I wanted to sock him in the face as hard as I could. I regret to this day that I didn't call him out on his shit, but at the time, I was ashamed to be struggling with depression, needing therapy and medication, and I froze up. It's weird how we are ashamed of mental illnesses, but we have no problem telling people we broke our leg. When I was doing well, I felt the same way. Now that I'm doing better, I openly talk about it, so I do my small part in getting it more normalized. So much material is out there about recognizing toxic people, assuming we are all victims who are attracted to the wrong type of people. In therapy, you may actually learn how you have behaved in maladaptive ways that have contributed to strained or prematurely cut off friendships. Such a hard thing to recognize in healthy, and even harder when you have a mental health condition. Massive amounts of respect to you, and I hope you are doing great now. Not a psychologist, but as someone with ADHD, whenever someone tells me to concentrate, my brain shuts off whenever I try to force myself to concentrate, and I have none of that sweet dopamine rush at the end that you get. It's more difficult than that. Stop recommending it every time I have something I have to do. As someone not with ADHD, I have to say telling someone to concentrate is useless. Concentrating is hard work. I've never been very good at it. And no dopamine rush. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.